Walker, turned out, was homosexual as well. And at the end of his career was actually arrested 2 times in public men's rooms, fondling police officers.
Oh. Well, if anybody needs to be fondled, it's police officers.
support the men in blue with their blue balls.
I mean, it must have been tough back then being gay. You had to do things in strange places. I got to hand it to anybody that was gay in those days. I mean, you had to have some courage, man.
Yeah. I hear you with that, but it is interesting that so many people on the periphery of this JFK assassination, how many of them were homosexual?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's an inordinate amount or not. I know Lyndon Johnson wasn't homosexual that I know of.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
But he had a foul mouth. Apparently, he used to sit naked on his toilet and defecate while his top brass was around, advising him on this and that. He just was a gross person that did things like that.
Yeah, and did you ever hear the recordings of him talking to Jackie Kennedy after the murder, saying that I'm going to be the dad?
Trying to pick up on her or something?
Well, he was saying, I'm going to be the daddy for your kids from now on.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, really super creepy stuff.
Super freaky guy that guy was. But, that, like my dad said, that was his last chance at being president, because there's no way of Kennedy being in there another 4 years that Johnson was even going to be in the ballpark to be nominated. His time was over. And he's been a crook from day one. When he was a congressman, he won that seat illegally. They called it Box 13 or something like that. And he did all these fraudulent cotton allotment things with Billy Saul Estes, and it's pathetic. I'm interested in Donald Trump. I think he's a fascinating guy that maybe has has something different to offer. Although I do like Bernie Sanders as well, because he's true to his heart. Roger called him a communist, but I don't think he is.
Well, okay, I've done some shows on Trump. You got to listen to those shows. Trump is up to his neck with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, this convicted pedophile, this billionaire.
The guy Clinton was hanging out with too?
Yes, my friend.
They had the island of boys and girls sex?
Yep, he has that dimension down the Virgin Islands where this guy's a convicted sex offender now, and he uses that as his address. So he can't be looked up here in the United States as being a convicted sex offender. He was molesting up to 3 little 12, 13-year-old girls a day, according to his butler. Now, he met one of his victims at Mar-a-Lago when she was an employee, a 15-year-old employee of Donald Trump, working in the ladies' locker room down there at the Mar-a-Lago resort. Also, Epstein was partying down there with his little underage girls with Prince Andrew at Mar-a-Lago, a Trump property. Now,
and Trump was partying with the underage girls and having things go on with them?
There is a direct quote from Donald Trump, that I practically have memorized. It was a quote by Vicki Ward from New York Magazine when she interviewed Donald Trump, because everyone's trying to figure out who Epstein was, because they found out about him because he was giving Clinton a ride on his plane. And by the way, who else was on the plane with him? Chris Tucker and Courtney Love and all these characters. Okay, but Donald Trump says, I have it memorized. I've known Jeff Epstein for 15 years. Terrific guy. A lot of people say he loves the ladies as much as I do, and a lot of them on the young side. You say what you want about Jeffrey Epstein, but he loves his social life. Now, that's almost a direct quote. So Trump...
that's pretty honest. That's pretty honest.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's shocking to do that, but I don't know. Donald Trump, is everybody sick on the inside like that? Every person that's running for office?
Well, if you look at the list of people who were down at Jeffrey Epstein's parties and at his home there, it's Katie Couric, Woody Allen, that guy.
Woody Allen, definitely, he's a pedophile, right?
Yeah, well, he's still hanging out with Epstein. To this day.
Wow.
Oh, well, get this, too, man. Listen to this, man. Epstein's girlfriend, this girl, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was widely accused of procuring these little girls for Epstein, she attended Chelsea Clinton's wedding after Epstein was convicted. So she's still in there with the claims. Yeah. So
these people operate without any. It's like they're untouchable, or they think they are, and they probably mostly are. But the audacity, they think that they can just do what they want and money will solve problems. But that's the state of things that they've brought it to.
Well, you know what? It's not just money.
I'm ready to run in the streets with the gasoline-filled bottles with rags in them. That's basically I did that in the '60s a little bit, and it's going to take a revolution like we tried before. I mean, I don't know what else can done, but there's no real change that's ever come about anywhere without violent revolution.
Well, you know what? Then you'll love the guest I have on tomorrow, Professor Daniel Burton Rose. He wrote Guerrilla USA, the George Jackson Brigade, and the Anti-Capitalist Underground of the '70s, and he's coming on the show tomorrow.
Wow, I'm gonna listen in. You get them all, man. You get the good ones.
Yeah, we got a great list coming up. You know who I had to just recently too? The former leader of the Hells Angels, George Christie. He was on. He's coming back this week. And this week I had.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I got them all, man. And this week I had two.
My band was Hells Angels chapter, and it used to be Shasta chapter, but now they call it Whiskey Town Crew. Was their favorite band? We went up and played with at the Hells Angels clubhouse up there. President's a real cool guy. I like those guys. I like the fact that they beat the government in their own rotten cases, twice. The largest RICO cases in the history of American jurisprudence, and the Angels won, and I think I respect that. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I hear you.
The government wants to be the only big crooks around. That's the truth of the matter is. They don't want anybody else, selling drugs and making profit. They just want to be the ones to do it.
Yeah, it's so true, And one thing, too, we were talking about how do they get away with it. It's not just money, it's blackmail also. Because when we had on Henry Vincent, the Confessions of a White House Call Girl, Confessions of a D.C. Madam, he talks about how all those guys, but Lawrence, Larry King, and Craig Spence, how they had videotaping equipment set up at these parties, and Craig Spence, his bodyguards were all Secret Service agents. And Epstein had the same operation going on down there in Palm Beach, Florida, when they raided his home, because you can read the probable cause affidavit online for the search warrant. When they went into his home down there, he had hidden recording equipment all over the place. And
so he could blackmail people or use it in case he needed it.
Yeah. And also, too, when you walked into his home and walked up to the massage room where all this activity took place, there were pictures of naked little girls all over the walls in frames. Little 14, 15-year-old girls. Anybody that walked into that home was witnessing child pornography.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just fly out in the open, and they just don't give a shit because they think that they're going to continue getting away with it. And for the most part, I guess most of them do. I mean, I'm scared to really go into this whole pedophile thing. I mean, I was a victim of that situation when I was in boarding school, but I worked out of it, and it was what it was, and it happened, and but I mean it's not just Catholic priests. It's I don't know. I mean, what about that guy in the college, the sports coach, the beloved, what's that guy's name?
I know who you're talking about, Sandusky.
Yeah, he was a coach for a university, and for 25 or 30 years he was a football coach. And he had a underprivileged camp for boys.
Yeah. Well, if you ever, the whole report on that is available online. And let me tell you something, man. There's like 20 other people at that college that should be arrested as well. Because everybody knew what Sandusky was doing. He was barred from
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife absolutely knew because he was bringing little boys down to the basement and sleeping with them down there. How come she's not in prison?
God. Yeah, she's an accessory just because she didn't report it. And the fact that my mother died, how she did and when she did, I mean, if she had lived, she would have been arrested as an accomplice and an accessory and gone to prison.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's, I'm sure she would, my dad spent almost 4 years in prison. And she probably would have maybe gone for a lesser amount of time. I don't know. But he wasn't going to crack until she was killed. He was adamant. He wanted his money, and that was it.
Yeah, Doug Caddy said the same exact thing. He said your dad was a broken man after his wife got killed, after your mom got killed. But now, what do you think your dad would have done? Would he have turned and testified against Nixon and all the buddies there?
Yeah, I think he would have. Under in the right circumstances, if they absolutely fell through with financial support for not only him but the Cubans, his compatriots. Yeah, and that was his threat. And my dad did not make threats that were just idle threats. He threatened the White House, Mitchell, Ehrlichman, specifically Nixon, and he meant it. And they knew he meant it because he was who he was.
What do you make of one main reason that everybody thinks it was a setup was because of that off-duty cop that was downstairs waiting for this, and he was right there, right on the scene to make this bust. Now, I forget his name right now, but Doug Caddy thinks that he's Deep Throat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought Deep Throat was Linda Lovelace. Mark Felt.
Yeah.
Nixon, you can listen to the White House tapes and you can hear Nixon going, let's talk to that. They knew that Mark Felt was leaking information to Woodward and Bernstein. They knew it. Nixon is on tape saying Mark Felt is the one talking. Way back when, there was no mystery to that, But some people still don't believe that. Like Roger Stone doesn't believe Mark Felt was Deep Throat. He goes, no, that's not true. Mark Felt was Alexander Haig. That's who other people think it is.
Yeah, when I was young, I thought it was Haig.
Yeah.
But now that I start getting to meet all these people, you get different stories.
Yeah. It seems like these people aren't individual, separate human entities. They're all some kind of a one monstrosity that goes on through history year after year.
Now, have you run into anybody that's and you know for a fact that they're trying to feed you disinformation?
Disinformation?
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's so much disinformation out there. I think FBI, CIA, and the government play a huge role in the publication of Kennedy assassination books for the purpose of clouding up the waters and the purpose of disinformation. Come on, how can anybody, Gerald Posner or who was the guy that wrote Helter Skelter, Vincent Bugliosi, how can those guys seriously, as intelligent human beings, believe that Oswald was a lone gunman and that there was no evidence or ties relating to Oswald in the intelligence community? Come on.
And Jeffrey Toobin.
That's just so ridiculous. But, why are they writing like telephone-sized books about it?
Jeffrey Toobin, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of disinformation out there. I've gotten threats from people, Not so much anymore because it's wide open, but someone that Doug knows that also was working in the law offices that Lyndon Johnson used wrote one of the first books naming LBJ as the head conspirator. I forget what it was called or what the author's name was, but he goes way back. And then, of course, there's been one or two others. And then when I came out with Bond of Secrecy, when my dad had told me that LBJ was at the top of the list, it just kind of supported. And since then, more and more people are coming to realize that, well, of course, it has to be Johnson. And in view of his, murderous past, it's absolutely no doubt.
Including his own sister.
Pardon me?
Including his own sister.
Yes, including his own sister. I didn't like my sister too much, but I didn't kill them.
Yeah, didn't he have her thrown in a mental institution too?
Yeah. The Kennedys had one of their daughter's locked up in a mental institution for her whole life. My